This is the fourth in our series of lectures on technology strategy. This week we are changing our topic, shifting from questions concerning the creation of value and technology cycles and the patterns of technology emergence to questions concerning entry and appropriation. That is, how do you get into a market, what launch strategies are appropriate, and how do you benefit? How do questions concerning appropriation shape your strategy over time? Recall our thesis. Knowledge about patterns of change is useful because it's going to give us some hints about how technology seems to evolve, when it's going to occur, and essentially when to place a bet. We reviewed a variety of models of change. The continuous models included the product life cycle and various diminishing returns model, including S-curves and the variation in selection retention models. We also discussed the demand models of knowledge diffusion, including Rogers' model and the newer version offered by Jeff Moore in the Chasm. We also addressed three models of discontinuous change: Henderson and Clark architectural change model, Christensen's disruptive technology model, and then we talked about McGann, who identified various models of change by paying attention to what was happening to the relevance of core activities or processes that the firm engages in and their core assets. We're turning this week then from questions concerning value creation, so we had 3 weeks where we talked about the environment in which value is created, to questions about how we address and capture value from those innovations. We'll be addressing that topic over the next 3 weeks. If we look forward beyond that, in the next 3 weeks, we'll be dealing with questions in the following order: models of entry, which we're going to address in the lecture only, and some of the alternatives and practical consequences to be addressed, and questions about appropriation, which is considering how do you do it, do you cooperate or compete, and some of the other elements that tell you whether or not you're going to be able to benefit, including secrecy, which we address by addressing questions concerning intellectual property, and can you achieve benefits by differentiating your product by creating brands and or a technology platform. All of the questions concerning technology platforms are boiled down to: how do you use technology to build and sustain advantage over time? Starting this week, we'll also have a series of speakers addressing these questions to help enrich and give us some insight into this. Concerning entry, let's take a look at what's happening in the marketplace today. If we take a look at Twitter, created in March 2006, we have a company here that experienced phenomenal growth. This is just the first 3 years of growth, 2007 through 2009. The growth rate through 2013 continued on a similar exponential path. What's really curious about this is that Twitter did not announce a business model for 4 years. They practically made no attempt to monetize the firm, instead running and operated on using venture capital supplied funds. And when they talked about business models over this period, they talked about different models, different times, and at various times. I think they had announced 8 models which they had managed not to implement. Commentators were frustrated, noting at this time that they don't quite understand what's going on, and saying that the delay in implementing a revenue strategy just makes the market jittery. I would pay for it if I could, but at this point I don't believe Team Twitter actually has a plan for making money from the site. It was a topic that dominated the marketplace. And as a matter of fact, it wasn't for 4 more years until they finally started getting around to implementing a model. And here we have a canvas of their model circa 2012. We finally start to see its elements. The value proposition of staying connected on news events and targeted marketing and through apps, various activities of the platform, and developing relationships finally turned into revenue streams. That is, they would license access to Twitter traffic. By the way, they gave away those licensee streams for a number of years. They created a couple of different ways for people to market over the sites, starting first with promoted tweets promoted tweets in 2010, They announced promoted accounts and trends in October 2010, and astonishingly, they got around to announcing their own analytics group in September 2011. What's surprising about this is that there was a huge analytics industry running on Google on Twitter data by in 2008, so much so that there were 24 different companies all prospering, achieving market value, some going public, some being taken over by Google and some others. One notable one was purchased by Microsoft for I think 1.2 billion. And all of these companies, all of that value created on the Twitter platform, Twitter did not benefit from any of that. It was just a remarkable, remarkable thing. Today we see a replication of that strategy. Pinterest, how do they plan to make money? This is a quote from their founders saying, right now we're going to grow. We're going to make it more valuable. You take money, and we're going to figure out a business model down the road. So here we have in the social media a quite curious thing where if you have a substantial amount of money, you can fund your growth for a while. In this case, get a lot of eyeballs, get a lot of traffic, build your market share, and then finally figure out how best to monetize it at the back end. But the key here in social media, be first and be big. So the takeaway from this is that in today's marketplace, questions about entry, timing of entry, and the benefits of various strategies all need to be considered in terms of the challenges that you have by both combining the pros and cons of when to enter as well as questions concerning how you propose to make money from your technology. So the answer here, that decisions about entry are actually just not so simple. The fundamental question here, of course, in most cases is, are you better to pioneer or follow? Are you better to be the first, or are you better to trail?